thank you for coming to our library to give us an oral history of the university. Let me first start the first questions. You were one of the first batch of staff employed by CityU. What was the environment like in your first month of work?
I must say that it was a very, very strange feeling. On one hand, I've got the appointment letter from the planning committee of the Second Polytechnic. But on the other hand, I was told to report to the General Secretary of the PolyU reporting my first day. He then showed me to a room of his colleagues, which is in the registry. And in the room there, later on, I found that that staff was basically on vacation. Someone has been using that room. So I was expecting that I won't be staying there for long. And in the end, I think that they moved me to the estates office in the PolyU. Looking back, there's not that many people know that the initial group of staff recruited have very little employment protection. On one hand, we were directly being appointed or being told that we will be working for the Second Polytechnic. But on the other hand, when we get our monthly pay slip, it was from the PolyU. So we were serving two masters at the same time. But given if that situation is in this age, then I think there will be a lot of hoo-has. The planning committee wasn't a legal entity. They couldn't sign any contracts. So basically, there were implied contracts between us and the PolyU. And the appointment in those days, I was being told by the by the planning committee of the Second Polytechnic, is that we were on a month-to-month basis. So I think the initial group of staff employed from outside the PolyU were very, very brave. They were willing to take up the challenge and just focus ourselves into developing the Polytechnic.
Okay. And you were involved in the planning of Agris Center #2. What was your thought when you were asked to perform the task?
Housing a university in a tower of 20-25 stories have not been heard of in those days. When you imagine a university with students' activities, with classrooms, with library, with laboratories facilities, and also academic staff all housed in one building, is extremely rare. So the planning took some skill. And in addition of that, we have to turn the lower floors, I think, the lower fourth stories into a shopping center. And again, I think that this must be one of the first for a university to operate a business venture that is leasing out its premises to shops and also run the shopping center. Not fortunately, but as a result of that, the university gets about $1 million Hong Kong dollars a month in those days, and it would be quite a nice sum of money. I would say 40 to 50 million. By the end, we finished with the Argyle 2. Unfortunately, that sum of the money has got to go back to the government because we were not allowed to make profit out of the land or out of our premises in our operation. And the last was that with Argyle 2, we purchased it. We purchased the building from Leung and MTR as joint venture for about 400 million. We used it for 45 years, and at the end of it, we were told to give it back to the government. But in hindsight, if we could have kept it, I think the school would have a different type of program entirely as compared with these days. Because it's right in the middle of a very, very busy district, and it's so convenient from the New Territory, the Hong Kong side, and also within East and West Kowloon. And or if we don't keep it, then we could have sold it. And if we sold it, then we could have made about 500 million kind of profit. And in the 1980s, or even at the end of 80s, it could be quite a profitable sum of money, a respectable sum of money for the university using it as a sinking fund.
And the campus has dramatically changed in the last 5 years. Have you been involved in it?
The simple answer is yes. The first master plan was prepared in the 1980s when the campus was first built. And because of the changes in the student development, we want to give the student a bit more freedom so that they can develop themselves, and also to give the students to mix around with their own peers. That is one issue. The other issue was that in those days, Hong Kong industries or business have developed into another different form than we first initially thought of when the university was first developed. And the third is that the university was getting quite a handsome sum of money from its research activities. So with all these, we have to relook at the university again to see how the campus itself could cater for all these changes and facility to cater for all these changes. By having had all these requirements from the academics, we look at what we can do on campus. And unfortunately, the campus was almost fully built, other than those hills and slopes that we have got. We can certainly go in to build something there, but I think that in those days we were very aware of the green issue, of the sustainability for the environment, and also the burden that would have been put on to the Hong Kong landfill. So we decided to look at the lands or the vacant premises in around the campus or near to the campus. We were very fortunate in those days was that there was a vacant Vietnamese refugee site up along the Congo Street. In those days, nobody was interested in that area. It is somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. So we decided to start talking with the government, and in the end, we were very lucky to get the Sept Creative Media Centres and the student housing built there. Once these two have been established, the main campus itself gradually evolved. The planning of it gradually evolved, and it extended up further north up to Congo Street, and hence that's why we've got the AC3.
Is there any objects or story in connection to CityU that you could share with us?
I think there were many. I think I was getting almost every day. Some of those were very enjoyable or light-hearted, but some were very annoying. But I think overall, it was a very pleasant memory. I recall that I was totally out of joy when I've got responses from international architects expressing their interest on the for the design of the Creative Media Center. I think one of the reasons was that in those days the university was gradually getting onto the world stage, and secondly, the project itself will give the architects a lot of creative or innovative design. So that's why many architects, well-known architects, were interested. And we advertised worldwide through professional institutions. I can remember that I think some from Norway were interested. They came to see us. Also, people from South Africa were also interested in writing to us. So you can see that the city. Being an architect myself, I'm also a champion to architecture. This creative media building in Hong Kong really has given some different perspectives for the locals to get themselves out from their own comfort zone, their own accommodation, or their own environment, to see what things can be done. If one can be innovative, can be creative. It doesn't have to be in a box, and everything got to be at right angles.
And lastly, do you think campus architecture raise the academic standard?
The straight answer is no. This is the raising the standard is more to do with the quality of the students and the academics and the faculty and the research abilities. But on the other hand, when you look around North America, Europe, China, Japan, Korea, even Hong Kong, students or parents of students would look at first of all, the academic standing of the university that the children may or they themselves may want to apply. They will look at the employability after they have graduated. And lastly, I think that when they glance through brochures, when they come on campus, they will want to have a pleasant campus that they will spend their next 3 to 4 years. So somehow, if we can get better students, better academic staff, I think the campus may, in a very, very indirect way, will help to raise the standard.
So thank you very much for your sharing. Any other thing that you'd like to add?
I think the last thing is that I would like to say, in the last 30 years of the City University's existence, the leadership has given us a kind of non-stop vision of not expansion but hope and changes, so that we keep on meeting the moving goalposts where Hong Kong society requires. Things have been developing very quickly in the commercial world, so our students and our academic program have to change. By changing the physical form in many ways, this will help to encourage the students and the academic staff to accelerate and change the academic programs, so that the outlook and the attitude of the student and staff could meet the 21st century.
Thank you very much for your sharing on the development of this campus of CityU today. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.